Hi, everybody. It's Lowrider here and Grizzly.
Hello
So we're
there.
just saying hi and we'll start the show. How are you doing, Chris? You all right?
Doing good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Ups and downs, just like everybody else in the world.
Right,
But
right.
thankful for being here and sort of like and a lot better off than some poor people around the world. So
Right, isn't that the truth?
we've got to
Yeah.
think of that and say thanks, really. So wow. Did I have a shock watching your show?
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it?
Well, more than interesting, to say the least. I thought my eyes, because I have got problems at the moment, sort of like just about everything, but my eyes, and I'm thinking, did I just see that right? Sort of like when the hand, boof. Sort of like on the curtain. Did anybody else see that? Uh, you know, if you want
Yeah,
to explain, Chris,
yeah. So FDL Paranormal, the paranormal group in UK, they did an investigation live on a house, a cottage that sit over a coal mine, and one of their members, Ryan, uh, they were going to read a book, Solomon book, I think is what it's called, allegedly, and they were asking the members, should we do this or not? And this is how the story goes from what they were saying. And no activity with the cat balls,
Yeah.
and all the cat balls go off. And so I didn't know we were going to have a show and he said, and he looked down on the ground and he saw this girl with black hair that was wet on all fours looking up at him. And, and it reminded him of the movie The Ring, and she had black smoke coming out of her mouth,
Yeah.
and he freaked out and freaked everybody out, and they're trying to light candles in the dark. And so we didn't know we were going to have a show that Wednesday, because we do a show every Wednesday,
Yeah.
FDL Paranormal and I do together. And well, during our live show, I'm sitting there and Ryan's talking, and I'm looking and I'm like, there's a hand imprinted next to him on the curtain.
Yeah.
And I pointed it out.
Mm.
Well, as soon as I pointed it out, it dissipates. So everybody in the audience is like, what's he talking about? So, everybody stops and they're like, let's go back. And so I tell them the time. So they go back and they rewind it and they're like, oh my God, Grizzly's telling the truth. Well, later on that night, I have people in the audience is like, you need to go back and listen to, we got an EVP of a girl going, hello. And I'm like, what? Yeah, we had a listener wearing earbuds, and she went back and watched it. So I went back and played the audio, and I'm like, no way. So then everybody starts sending video evidence in of the person. Hey, Tina, welcome to the show. Sending
Hi.
pictures in of this girl's face being imprinted on the curtain. And well, Ryan, showed everybody after the handprint that, hey, look, nobody's behind the curtain, right? It's just a window. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the curtain rod only extends about that far from the wall,
Yeah.
because it comes out and it turns as an L shape, as a little bracket,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So he's showing everybody that there's nobody behind the wall. So it kind of freaked him out. And, hey, Roger, welcome to the show, Roger.
Hi there.
So it freaked everybody out. So yeah, so what he saw at that cottage during their live show, right? Their investigation, it went with him to the house. He brought her home as an attachment. So yes, that was wild, wasn't it?
It was. And I mean, I'd seen the hand and I could hear. I had my headphones and I said to you, it says hello, you know. And that's when I said, I think you need help, because you could see it in his demeanor, his eyes, you know. But the funny thing is, you know, because they were talking about, do we read, do we not read from the book, and what have you, etc. Now, the thing is, lots of people, you know, don't want to go near sort of like what you want to. It just depends if summoning, conjuring, etc. Now, as soon as he said the name Solomon, I know what he's talking about.
See, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been into this subject for a long number of years. And the thing is, one of the things, I don't know if you realize this or not, but with me being a Christian, and people, you know, like, oh, Christians, and I've seen them all with all this, and you've only got to do it right the once, and what have you. You won't be doing that again to the right people or the right person. But the funny thing is, when especially some churches say, no, you know, we don't talk about paranormal. Now, the problem with what I've got is the Bible, right? Yeah. It is all the way through. I mean, paranormal, all as it is other than normal, right? Yeah. It's not the norm. So you're looking at a subject which is not the norm that goes on. That's all it is. That's as basic and as simple as you can put it. Yeah. But with the Bible, all the way through, it's all the way through, it's talking about things that are paranormal and not the norm. Right?
Yeah. I agree with that.
You know, now then, let's look at, for instance, Jesus, when he brought, I think he brought more than one person back to life from the dead. Do you know how he did that?
Yeah, because he was the Son of God.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because he actually used Solomon, right? Yeah, Solomon's. There's a name for it. I don't want to say too much, right? Yeah, but he used one of Solomon's to evoke, right?
Really?
Yeah, the dead, right? Yeah. So he basically, and obviously being Jews and knew what he was saying, right? Yeah, because it was from this text of Solomon's, right? Yeah, and he brought the man back to life. So the thing is, then we've got Solomon's son David, right? Yeah, and then we've got Jesus, who is related to David, who's related to Solomon. So is there any wonder he's using an old ritual, right? Yeah, to bring somebody back to life who'd used it previous?
Huh.
And I just wondered if you knew that. And that's a fact. He used, like I said, this scripture from Solomon to bring a person back to life.
See, I don't know.
Yeah,
Allegedly, it was supposed to
it's
bring
a
down
fact.
a veil.
Yeah, it's a fact.
The veil. So, yeah. I
So
don't
the
know
thing is,
anything
what's
about it.
wrong with using it if Jesus used it?
So, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
We're told not to, you know, like the clergymen, fathers and pastors, just depending what denomination of church you go to, you know, and some people now in the church are even saying that, oh well, we don't believe in that because we don't believe in the devil.
Right.
Well, you've got to, because one doesn't go without the other. if you see what I mean. The whole story starts and ends because of, you know, people that don't want this person alive. You know, sort of like, so that's as simple as I can put it without offending people. You know, sort of like, it mentions it in the Bible, you know, sort of like, you know, in the desert and what have you, and, you know, trying to, you know, sort of like coax him to come to his side and what have you. And then there's the sacred numbers, right? Yeah, which is, you know, sort of like, for Jesus, it is 777, right? And you can't get beyond 777. So the devil wanted to get beyond that number, so he turned his number 666 upside down to make 99. You see, it's like 999. You know, like you get this emergency
Ah,
number, right? Yeah. So it's got to be better and bigger than Jesus's. Do you see? That's where you get 999.
I
You know what
got
I
you.
mean? Originally. So I mean, the thing is, you know, we've got all these strange things. You know, sort of like teaching people, saying you don't do this, you don't do that, and, you know, sort of like, well, why? Why don't we? If this is, you know, if Jesus did, and then again, look at all the other things. You know, about making a blind man see, person walk. You know, getting rid of leprosy. You know, diseases, famine, and then of course feeding. You know, what were it, 5,000 and what have you, with loaves of bread and fish and what have you. You know, but look, slowly but surely, you know, sort of like people have got to say, well, you know, we look at things and, you know, even now, you know, there's areas where there's been in the Middle East where there's been a battle, and I think like Sodom and Gomorrah, for instance, and what they're finding is this area that looks to have been bombarded by nuclear weapons, and it's all in the text, you know, going back, you know, sort of like not only to, you know, like the from the Bible and the Talmud, you know what I mean? So it's all there. It's all there to, you know, if you can read Hebrew and what have you, it's all there.
That's
So,
interesting. Yeah.
you know, but the thing is, like I say, you know, sort of like these things, though, once you've called them, you see, if we go by the real name of these things, we're actually talking about jinn.
Yeah. You make a good point there.
We're actually talking about jinn. And even, you know, being a Knight Templar and what have you, you know, we learn about these sort of things. You know, like people say, oh, you know, like Knight Templars are believed in this, that, and the other. And, you know, unless you're a Templar, you don't know. You know what I mean? But, you know, there is a big question about the symbol of the two knights on the horse, where people say, oh, it's because, you know, the poor knights of Christ, and, you know, couldn't afford a horse and what have you, and, you know, but some people always look and they say that if you have a look at the knight on the back of the horse, and I get this a lot, I've had people asking me, that looks a lot to me like an alien on the back, you know, sort of like of the knight, you know, on the back of the knight, you know, on the other Templar, you know, sort
I
of
never
like
paid attention to it.
no, well, you would, yeah, I mean, sort of like people don't, you just, you know, and you know, sort of like, and there's all the other things that, you know, the mystic, because sort of like there's a mystic side to some sort of like belief systems, and again going back to this cup of Christ, like what he drunk out of, like and it's a big question, sort of like, does it hold power? Sort of like a healing. Some people claim that it's made out of wood and it's in whatever place. I think the last time I read somewhere that this there's supposed to be a number of these cups. It were in North Wales somewhere, but mid Wales? I'm just trying to remember now. And of course, then we're looking at the Ark of the Covenant, made out of acacia wood, and sort of like it, for all intents and purposes, it sounds like some kind of weapon,
Right.
Yeah, that's right, Book of Enoch. Yeah, but about the image of two knights, yeah. And like I say, me being a Knight Templar, I look at all, like things that we talk about and, sort of thing. But there's even more to that than meets the eye, sort of like, and it's about, teachings and, again, sort of like what you would call arcane knowledge and what have you. Sort of like what most people don't want to know. People just, like get on with what they're doing. And a strange thing what somebody were talking about, and they were saying about, about people going back, and not being able to read and write and what have you. And they said that it was for, like the nobles, but that wasn't true. That wasn't actually true, because, to be quite honest, there was only one lot of people, and that was from the church, that learned to read and write, really, because the what you would call the ones in the royal families and and the like didn't have to learn to read and write, because they had it done for them. They'd say, come here, read me from, I've got this parchment, this has come, what does it say? And write this, write this down. It was only if they really, really wanted to learn. It just depends what house you were from. Sort of like sort of like a royal house. That some people, like I said, no, it was a case of it was all done for them.
Yeah.
But, so that is just something that I found it a little bit interesting, because we told don't delve into these things. It's not, and the thing is, well, why not? But you've got to be careful, because the problem is, and this is a big problem, it's like Pandora's box again. You call these things up, these jinns, you call these jinns up, and they can be all right at first. They can be all right and nice, but sort of like they do what they want, and that's what people don't really, sort of like realize. They do what they want. They, sort of like, if they want to create havoc, and usually they will, they'll create havoc. And the other thing, what I've noticed, why is it it's like when I'm watching a program and it shows you Templars and it says, and it's funny because I was talking to the head of the demons, and it shows you this image of him. It's always got to be the head of the demons. You know what I mean? Sort of like, not all of them, but it's got to be the head of the demons. And I've noticed a lot of people, when they're calling anything up or summoning or whatever you want to call it, conjuring, many different names, and they want to call the head on show, don't they? You know what I mean?
Right.
Something you don't really want to be doing, because the thing is, when you see this on television, right? Yeah, it's shock, right? Yeah, it's like a lot of different names. You could say, wow, people are sort of like wanting to go and see something, and they're shocked by it. There's lots of different names you could use about what it is to what people are watching, if you know what I mean. But really, when it comes down to it, what you're actually doing when you go into these areas, yeah, people say we want some evidence. Well, if you walk around and you just talk, is anybody there? That's one thing. If these things are there, sort of like that, they might, sort of like talk to you, they might throw something, etc. But when you start opening a book and you start reading from that book, you've gone on to the next level. Now you're not just ghost hunting. Now you're summoning, right? Yeah. Now you're conjuring. It's a different matter altogether. That, you know what I mean? It's like, and you only do this, right? You only do this for certain purposes. And usually they are if you want them to do something for you. Right?
Well, people want to push an envelope. People want to get that evidence. They want to see what's going to happen by reading something or testing that theory, right?
That's different from ghost hunting. You know what I mean? You can go to an haunted house and you can say, is there anybody here and what have you? When you're talking about a book, you're summoning. You know what I mean? You're not ghost hunting, you're summoning. Whether it's been found there or not. Right, yeah? And I don't think it was, if I remember rightly. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're pushing the boundaries, but you're not ghost hunting as such. You know what I mean? You're performing a ritual. You know what I mean? You're performing a ritual. You're conjuring. Call it what you want. There's many different names, different cultures. It's a different thing altogether. And it's a case of, the thing is, you've got to be prepared to deal with what happens when you do that, because sometimes you just can't put the genie's cork back in the bottle. Sometimes
the old saying, you can't. No, you're right. You can't. Nope. You'd be surprised how many people use Ouija boards.
Oh, I wouldn't. I know for certain. I mean, the thing is, most of the, but going back to when I were a young lad, flipping it, that's some time ago now. But like 14 and what have you, and sort of like most families, you could hear them talking about, like Auntie so and so, they were out with cards. Auntie so and so were out with Ouija board. Sort of like, and it was prevalent back then. This is like 60s. Your neighbours would have Ouija boards. Not all of them. you know, but there was a lot of people that did. They had Ouija boards, and sometimes they used to use cards and what have you. You know, sometimes they used to make Ouija boards. You know what I mean? There were all different sort of like different ways of communicating and what have you. But you know, that was, you know, sort of like some people couldn't afford Ouija boards, you know. But like I say, they were around. But I'll tell you something now, you know, sort of like my grandma, she wouldn't have a pack of cards in the house. You know, she'd say, no, you know, we don't want any cards. Don't, you know, she was a bit of a stickler because she saw them as could be used for the same thing. You know, sort of like for you know, telling fortunes and what have you. You know, but so yeah, so I mean, it's. I must admit, I'll tell you now, when they said, you know, you could see the face in the curtains, I'll tell you one thing I didn't do. I didn't go to have a look. I think I'd had enough when when I'd seen the hand and I'd said to you, yeah, and there's a voice. You know. But
Yeah, it was something. That was for sure. We was not expecting that to happen on the live show.
No, I don't think anybody would have. But you know, so that was just one thing, you know, sort of like that's happened this week. With that, I don't know over there in America, but you know, the thing, you know, with you know, the Senate and what have you, and sort of like all these stories coming out. Now what we're getting is we're getting people in the government and people that are supposed to be in government saying, well, you know, there's some whistleblowers come forward, and can these whistleblowers be trusted? You
Yeah,
know,
I saw Tina's comment. Was it Tina, wasn't it? Yeah. What do you think about the Congress public UFO hearings? I don't know.
well,
I think it's smoke and mirrors. What do you think?
well, I'll tell you something that happened now, and it was a few years ago, and I do get a lot of media contacting us, and one of the guys turned around and they said we were looking for some good images and stuff, and I said I know somebody that's filmed, and it can only be called, you know, one of these, what do you call it, UFOs that have been seen, Tic Tacs. Is it Tic? Yeah, Tic Tac.
Tic Tacs, yes.
Yeah, a bit like we had Tic Tacs over here. These little mints, you know, like did you have them in America? Is that
Yes?
So the called, and this had been seen 6 months prior, and I said, "Oh, look, I know somebody 6 months ago who would film this, and it were an area in North Wales, and if she's filmed somewhere, you can guarantee it's right. You know what I mean? And especially when I was side of her, and you know, she's been filming. No, for certain it's right." And the chap turned around and goes, "Oh, it's a bit old that, you know, 6 months ago. Have you got something current, right?" Now, the funny thing, it just bear with a minute. Have I? It's all right, just knock my settings off. So what happens is that the next thing, I'm looking in the paper and this image comes up of the Tic Tac, yeah? And it's, you know, sort of like from cockpit, supposedly from cockpit of, you know, the aircraft, right?
Right.
Now, the thing is, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. You've just turned one down, a picture, which is clearer outside above houses. And you've what you've done is you've put this this piece of footage in, right? Yeah. And what's happened is, have I just turned that? Right, yeah. Sorry, my comments are on. Sorry. So this footage, what they're using, the Tic Tac footage, you know what year it's from?
What's that?
2000, I think is it 2006?
Oh,
Or is it
wow. They went way
2002?
back.
Pardon?
They went way back.
Well, right. Yeah, so the thing is, I can't understand with the media sometimes. You're talking to them and something which is 6 months old is past its sell-by date, right? But yeah, the next week we sees the Tic Tac, which is actually 2000. I think it's 2002, 2003, right? It's very grainy. It could be in a flight simulator, for anybody knows. I'm just being, as people, when I'm talking and when people are asking me, and you know, oh, we're just playing devil's advocate. I can play devil's advocate, you know, if you want to. So the thing is, you know, we're looking at this, some of the most grainiest, what is it, footage of, could be anything, but yet something very clear and current they didn't use. And you start thinking, well, how does that work? And they keep on going this back now to this Tic Tac footage, which is very similar to the UFOs that take me and the balls of light that take me. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
and I'm thinking to myself, you know, there's some good footage. But the thing is, like I said to this guy, so have you got, you've got a lot of footage? Yeah, I've got an archive of footage. But you know, what you've got to realize is that it's not the norm. You know, it's not happening that much where it's all over the place, because it isn't. You know, it's got to be pretty damn good if you get an image, you know, sort of like, you're lucky. And if you get more than one, you're very lucky. If you get more than that, something's happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a reason for it. So what are the reasons? What are the reasons? And this is one of the things. Again, on your show, we're talking about ley lines, where some of these areas of interest are hot spots, if you want to call them hot spots, UFO capital. I know you asked me the other day about, you know, like, oh, this, you know, like you were in paper at this UFO capital. And then you asked us about the piece of metal. I think I sent you a picture, you know, me holding the piece of craft, you know, from the landing site.
Right.
Which is I'll tell you about that later on. But yeah, so these areas, you know, sort of like, and we're talking about it some time ago, and with the ley lines, and you know something, the guy were talking, and I said, yeah, I can identify with this. You know, the other night, I think he was on about Bigfoots, and they were talking about there's a lot of big power lines that have been put in.
Yes.
Now, funnily enough, at the bottom of the actual road lane where I've been abducted goes up to a place called Druid's Altar, right? And it's called Altar Lane. And all the way up there, there's like big power pylons right up, right next to Druid's Altar. And what I thought, well, obviously, I have heard the story that a lot of nuclear power plants, yeah, are actually built on some of these areas of interest. I don't know if you've heard of this or not before.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't understand why they're doing that. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, if you look at the ley lines, and again, you'll find a lot of, you know, sort of like these lines go, and sort of like you'll see them like go to Roman, like where there's been Roman buildings, a fortress or whatever, and then there's churches, there's wells, you know. Then you might have something again, because what people usually say is that wherever there's a Christian church, there's usually not Christian, a Roman sort of like building. There's usually some kind of maybe either a sort of like I think it'd be like beneath it'd be pigs. Would it be pigs or I'm just trying to think of the name for them. Somebody settled in Great Britain, like the original would be Brigantes, but then came, you know, sort of like somebody who was, instead of like Stone Age, around at the time when there was, you know, Stonehenge. I'm just trying to Beaker people. So they came along, and they were just had better weapons, and they had I think they were what you would call Bronze Age, right? Yeah. So there's all these different sort of like races beneath, and sort of like all building for some reason, all seem to be building, and they seem to be building in areas of great importance where the standing stones, as well as, you know, going back, and you've got circles, cup and ring stones, you know. So there's a heck of a lot of things, that that there is, you know. And then of course we've got wells, you know, from the Celts. They used to bury stuff and pray to the sprites, you know, sort of like in the water, and sacrifice, you know. And where I was, there was some of these big mounds and these areas where there'd been a UFO seen, called, I think they called it Goldie, and that was at a place called Baildon. But if you go back, the actual name, the Roman name, I think it is Baldon, and it means Bal, son, Don is Hill. So it was this area called Sun Hill, where we was on, you know, sky watchers, you know, on a night we'd go up to Baildon or Baldon, you know, this Sun Hill, and we filmed up there, and we've got one or two things what we'd filmed. But you know, back then some of us only had cameras, and adapted cameras with Russian night vision, you know, sort of like, which was screwed on with an adapter to us cameras. So you definitely get something when you got your night vision on. If you could see it, you know, that's probably what you'd see. You know what I'm saying? Just with a normal camera. and some of the other places as well, Ilkley Moor. There's a famous the Cow and Calf rock up there. Now, funnily enough, a chap found these like little round areas, had been built up, and they were only small, and they'd realised that that's where the people lived up there. And there wasn't very big, these houses, round houses, and they had these like roofs on, and of like foliage stopping rain coming in and what have you. And all this area, again, talking about strange giants around that area, strange things that have been seen in the sky. And I told you, I think there was a famous, the famous Ilkley spaceman, the green man of Ilkley. And funnily enough, I've taken a picture, and there's like, I showed you, didn't I? There's like excuse me, it looks like something coming out of the, down into the sky, from the sky. And it looks like just a line. Someone said, oh, somebody's thrown a big piece of twig or something. But if you look at it, it'd have to be as big as half a tree for the length.
Right.
So, that's what I've been looking at. Sort of like this week, like going back and looking at things. And then, whilst I was talking to you, I don't know if you viewed that that video footage. From the, what do you call it? The camera.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, when I was watching your show, I was just looking and seeing what there was, and something else turned up a bit odd. So I filmed that. So what I'm going to do, I'm eventually tonight going to take this down and put the clips on so we can play them, sort of like, and show what I'm talking about.
Right.
Sort of. Anyway, so that's what's happened a little bit this week. Things what I've been watching and finding these, things a little bit strange and what have you.
But what do you think about America, though, with the whistleblowers?
Well, yeah.
I mean, do you think it's all staged?
Oh, yeah. Listen, I've heard somebody talking from this country, never said boo to a goose for so many years. In fact, one of the first times, when I was watching, it's like somebody from government and supposed to know what's going on. They can neither confirm or deny. Well, to me, that would have wasted seat for somebody to say that they could neither confirm or deny, right? Yeah, when they've got the privilege to talk in front of the rest of the world in America, sort of like, why not let somebody who can confirm, can't deny, what I mean, who's out there being abducted, or she's been out there abducted, and have got the evidence, Doesn't that sort of like sit up here that says these people are working for the government, right? Yeah, different parts of the government, whether it's, sort of like working for whatever in, council, right up to military. Now, I know for certain that old man wants to, oh, look, you can get put in prison. You can get put in prison if you're talking about stuff on Official Secrets Act. They can put you in prison, lad. I mean? Think on. But yeah, not going to put me in prison. Oh, you don't know. Which, sort of like these days, it just makes you wonder, Yeah, bigger chance of me going to prison than somebody that's done a crime. You know what I mean? It's like, and the problem is some of the people that were brought up, you know, during Second World War, around that time, you know, they were told, you know, sort of like you sort of like you sort of like you sign the Official Secrets Act, which all these lot are talking on television and on other shows, have signed the Official Secrets Act. Why are they there talking? They've signed the Official Secrets Act. You know what I mean? So it's like it's either just bull them with, you know, or baffle them with science. You know what I mean, sort of thing. But you're not going to get anything out of them.
Now,
But
I
now,
think I think they're out there just to tell us what they're supposed to be, what G-Man wants us to know.
well, this is what I've said all along. I mean,
Yeah.
sort of like, and now the stances have sort of like changed. Now they're sort of like, oh well, we need to know the truth. We don't need you to tell us. We need to know the truth. You know what I mean? It's like these people. You know, it's like they're telling us something. I've just read today another famous person was saying, well, you know, when the land, there's going to be some big changes. Really? Well, you know, I'm sort of like not the brains of Britain and what have you, and you know, sort of like I think even a young kid looking and go, you know, something, you know, if they're here and you know, and they come in, they're in front of us, and there's going to be some changes. Now the thing is, whether they're going to be good changes or bad changes, because I'm always of the opinion, right? Yeah, a little bit like all the people that have found a new world and gone out there looking for a new life and what have you, you know, like from Vikings and what have you, Columbus and the thing is, do you think they've done it for the good of their health?
No, they did it for money.
Yeah, and survival.
Right.
You know, some of the areas were overpopulated and sort of like, and you know, it was a case of they were sick of, again, some of them were sick of the actual people that were ruling, the ruling classes. And, you know, like, let's, you know, anything's better than for this lot. Let's get out and escape and find a zone, you know. And I think that's a problem. People don't think. And it's, you know, it's odds on favourite to me that if they're here, they're coming because they want something, need something. You know what I mean? But it don't take a genius to, you know, to work that out. But there's been a lot of things going on. But the problem is, you know, sort of like I took a back seat when I started being ill and what have you. This is why I've put the outside camera up and what have you. You know, because you know you can catch some things, but I miss going out with me video camera, so I'm going to try to just you know get out a little bit and to see if I can
Right.
get something, you know. But there's a load of things on my list what I need to do, you know. But it's you know sort of like you know yourself and in a lot of pain and what have you. It's like getting out there and what have you. You know, it's like you know we've got the UFO part of this. You know, the Bigfoot, cryptozoology part. You know, ghost hunting and what have you. And the problem is you can only do so much.
That is
You know,
correct. Yeah.
you can only do so much. But I've been told that there's like a big cat being seen around. I think it's the Midlands, down south. I think North Wales has been a couple of sightings of big cats. And, you know, that was interesting as well about the guy saying about some of these things that have been seen are sort of like made up from films. You know, like I forgot what they called it now. And there wasn't around before. Is it Wendigo or something? And all these sort of strange creatures. On your show,
Wendigos, the
remember?
rakes,
That's yeah.
the pale crawlers.
Yeah. But you know, sort of like sometimes I know that they're saying that it was made for I think it was a radio show. And I remember seeing that some years ago, where you know, and he says he don't like to call it Bigfoot because it's more mystical. Do you remember he said it? You know, like
Yeah.
it's more. Well, the thing is, Bigfoot. If we, I think there's a great film on, and one of the first times they used Bigfoot, the terminology. Have you ever seen the Abominable Snowman?
Yes.
Wow. I saw the start and I never saw the end of that film. And my sister's taping it for us. But the Sherpas and the climbers were all basically saying, look, you know, that's a big footprint. If you remember, you know, it's like that was one of the first times. And they didn't call it, you know, sort of like a Bigfoot as such. It was known back then when they were all, you know, going and climbing Mount Everest and what have you, as this Yeti or the Abominable Snowman. So that's when I first heard of it, and then heard it later on. In fact, one of the first times would have been when I was watching $6 Million Man.
Right. Yeah. Somebody else made the same comment about the $6 million man.
You know, and then again, even though it was a little bit strange because they didn't tell you how they were linked to that space. That remember, didn't they land in a spaceship?
Yes.
I thought that was right. I remember. I thought to myself, I'm sure they landed in a spaceship. So, you know, it's a case of just because it shows you that, and you know, doesn't putting two and two together, making whatever. You know, sort of like I don't know. I'm sort of like I'm looking at like anything else, looking at the proof, and you know, even in my videos and what I'm filming and what's happening to me, you know, always looking and scrutinizing, you know, like video footage, etc. You know,
Right.
but you know, better put my specs on. In Kentucky, yeah.
Yeah, Roger. I heard that too. I heard that they were seeing Black Panthers.
I haven't seen it, but you see that again, right? Yeah. Someone was saying, you know, there's a lot of people seeing UFOs, but I you know, I live in this area, Russ, and I don't see anything. You know, like as in UFOs. And some people can be on sky watchers, and some people can see UFOs. And you can be saying, well, you know, it's there, and some people, I can't see anything. Now you've got to remember, you know, some people. I mean, it's like I should wear these, and I don't. And I'm wondering whether some people, when they're out, and you know, like if you're on a sky watch and you're looking, And it makes me wonder whether it's a bit of vanity that they can't see anything, but they don't really want to say, I think I could do with getting some glasses. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know. Whether, like shrugging it off, sort of like, don't mean to say that just because someone say, I can't see it, doesn't mean to say it's not there. Or is it a case of people again, I always sometimes ask the question, why do some people join UFO groups or paranormal groups? Because sometimes it doesn't seem as if they're really that interested. And they seem to be rather negative. You know what I mean?
I just think they like drama when it's
Oh,
stir up
I
the
like
pot.
flipping egg. Chris, I like drama.
So, yeah, I think they just want to be miserable and unhappy people.
That sounds like me. um, right. Well, Susan, whereabouts is this, if you don't mind me asking? Are you in the States or are you in the UK or Europe or? Be nice to know. Anyway, she'll get back to us, I'm sure. If yeah, so
Says
Texas.
Texas.
Hang on, wait a minute. I think have I spoken to you? So now then, I'm just trying to think. Seeing it in Florida also. You see, sometimes, Chris, what happens is, somebody contacted us the other week and says, "I filmed this, and it's quite a good film, But the problem is, it's very, very hard. I, sort of like, can't share it because it doesn't belong to me. You know what I mean? People's images. And I've said, were you wanting to go public with it? Were you wanting to, like let people know in the news? And I don't think I've got a reply back because what I do, Chris, I try to promote other people. It's not only you see me in paper and you might be thinking, oh well, but what I do is some of the people that I know, and especially this past couple of weeks, have said, have you got any stories for us? Anything, like now? And any videos? So if they say, for instance, yeah, I can put them in contact with my contact. What I never do, I never put the contact in the newspapers, etc., with them. Right, yeah.
Right.
It's data, even though it's not down in data protection, because it's on here, I treat it all the same. Do you see what I'm saying? I
Right.
treat it all the same. So I'd never mentioned anybody's name, address, or I might say somebody had seen something in an area and it was pretty good. Anybody else seen anything in that area? But believe me, I've got a pretty good name. I've never give anybody's details out and I never will. But if anybody wants to be, out there and let people know in the media, I'm always there to help,
Right. Right.
Right. Well, that's new. If you send it, I'm sure if you send us some information, we'd be very interested in looking at it. Any reports of anything, sort of like strange and, in some of these areas, I know that it'd be, sort of like a pleasure to have a look and see, just what's going on,
Yeah.
So, right, what else? What else? Gone through, like I say, talking about these ley lines, and I know I've spoken about them before. And like I say, I think for Monday, Chris, I think what I'll do is I'll put these images up, sort of like for you to have a look at. If I remember.
Yeah, Roger, I'm live on Facebook right now too. Yes. On my main page.
Okay. So that's what's been. So there's been quite a few bits and pieces going on this week with you as well, and
yeah, just staying busy with the shows and stuff, and getting ready for our show Monday.
Yeah. And like I say, what I'm going to have to do, because obviously, as you saw earlier on, there were a problem. I couldn't make the banner and stuff on that new computer because I'd been hacked and what have you. My friend sorted it out once. So what I'm going to do is I think what I'm going to do is take this down, and there's another way I can do, and that's just send the footage via Gmail, up here. You know what I mean? Open it up and save it up here. There's a couple of ways I think I can do it. I think that's going to be either one of the easiest, or just take this laptop downstairs, and put them on. The other thing is I won't have too much, so just a couple of minutes so you can see the main things what we're talking about. But have you seen the what do you call it? I think we was talking about it the other week. The dolphin, what I filmed.
Yes, that was interesting.
Have you actually seen the dolphin? The actual video?
I've seen a replica. I don't think I've seen yours. I've seen someone similar. That was interesting.
Right. Well, what I can do, because now I signed and they get a year to use my video footage. You see, so what I can do is I can show it, that year's up. It were up about a couple of months ago. So what I can do now is I can actually put it back up on YouTube as well.
Oh, that'd be nice. Hey, Gary, welcome to the show.
So, this is one of the things.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look at. Yeah.
I'm just waiting to see if one's been accepted. If it hasn't, what I'll do is I'm going to show that, but so I'll find out. That won't be until 2 weeks, because at the moment, is it Beeman? Hi there, mate. Hi.
Yeah, V-Man.
But we'll just have to see how things go, because we've got 2 weeks left and they're all on holiday now. That's the problem. Sort of like they call it silly season. Sort of like where, they put all sorts in, sort of like, because the powers that be, the government are all away for another 2 weeks or so. You know what I mean? So they try to fill the 6 weeks up, and they call it the silly season. Where sometimes you do get some good stuff though coming through.
Right.
Which is always good to see, isn't it? You know what I mean? No matter what. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
But right, so what else? Yeah. Obviously, I've been asked to do some talks and show this area again, you know, like round here, where we've got this so-called what you would call, you know, hotspot area of interest or UFO capital. And I can't say this enough, but you know, sometimes these areas, you know, sort of like there'll be a lot of UFOs reported in that area for however long, and then what happens is it'll go cold again, you know, and it'll go somewhere else, and then it might come back years later, you know, sort of like. So that means that somewhere else then becomes a hot spot as well, you know, sort of like, and call it a UFO capital, you know, and then again it'll come back again.
Right.
So, you know, the thing is, and this is the thing that, you know, sort of like, I haven't had a UFO reporting system like I had before, like with British UFO hunters. Now, when I had British UFO hunters, I used to take calls, and and I've taken some calls as well, you know, coming through reporting UFOs, you know, and so what I might do is I might, you know, I might get that running again, but sometimes, you know, I say to myself, haven't I done enough, you know, sort of like gathering information and sort of like for all these years, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, but the thing is, I'm sure that whilst I'm not taking information and, you know, not using, you know, like the reporting center, you know, for reports coming in, I could be missing out on a lot of reports that are going on.
Right. That is true.
You know, but the thing is, at the end of the day, now, you know, sort of like this, like with Facebook and what have you, you know, sort of like we used to have as websites and everything, you know, geared to running like reports coming in, and we again got hacked a couple of times, and it's a bit disheartening when you lose all that information, or you lose sort of like a good portion of information. You know what I mean? When
Right.
somebody's wiped it, it's sort of like don't make you feel like doing it in that respect anymore. But then again, that's what certain people want you to do, to lose interest. And now I think I've got my interest back even more than ever. So that's something that we're going to be doing. And we're looking to be talking about this area where the flying triangles came out of the sea, you know, where the plane went down and crashed into the sea when it was chasing this UFO. The other thing, I've got to find out if I can put those newspaper clippings up. You know what I mean? I think I can put them up if you put where you've got them from.
Yeah, anytime that I use news reports, I always give them credit. The reporting agency,
Yeah,
you know, the reporter, the time, the date, and
yeah,
the agency that reported. Yeah, I always give them credit. That way, they can't come back and say, "Oh, Grizzly took it and called it his." No, I didn't. I gave you credit.
yeah,
I used it. Yeah.
yeah,
Of course, I want to share your information, but I gave you credit and I gave you the acknowledgement, and that's what is required over here. I don't know
yeah.
what it is over there, but yes.
Well,
And
this
this
is
way
it, and
people can go back and validate it too, right?
that's right. Well, usually I put you've got the name of the paper, and then on the line at the top you've got the date and everything, and
Right.
then you've got the piece. So that's validating it. You know what I mean? Sort of like because you're
Right.
putting it all in. Although there's been a couple of times when we had, that's okay for tabloids, but a couple of times we've been in broadsheets, which are like massive papers, and you couldn't even get a quarter of the page in. You know what I mean? And sometimes we've even got like nearly a good half a page, you know, like storyline, you know, feature, you know what I
Right.
mean? But the rest of the time, you know, sort of like you can get a good, you know, like section of the page in, you know what I mean, from your tabloid newspapers. So that's something, you know, sort of like that I'm going to be, like I say, sorting out. As soon as I get my elf into some kind of shape and what have you. But you said something the other night what was so funny about using the tens machine.
That's what that's what just hit the floor.
I can, you know, when you can tell when somebody's using the same and what have you, and you get that look sometimes, you know, when you turned it up by accident.
Yes, that's what I was doing. I was like,
Yeah. The thing is, because what I've gone on to now, been having acupuncture
right,
and what have you, but I've gone back on a tens machine. Acupuncture's okay, Matt. Have you? You know, no problem with it. But when you need it for that there and then, you know what I mean, sort of thing. It's sort of
right.
like that's you can't do without it, can you? You know what I mean?
No,
You
not at
can't.
all.
But yeah, so it has been a very strange old week. Um, you know, sort of like watching, and that was, you know, that was quite a show what you did. And like I say, I was sort of like, I was really taken back. I didn't particularly want to see the actual face. You know, like it says, you're like,
Right.
because at the time, I think I told you, I was messing about with this with camera. Um, and I thought to myself, you know what? I don't really think the hand's okay. You know what I mean? So I was just listening to you with headphones on and sort of like not particularly wanting to look at the face because some people believe, you know, that it can travel.
Yes, it can. I do believe it can.
And sort of like, I know I've been, you know what I mean? Did you hear the voice? I wasn't looking, you know what I mean? Because there's this school of thought that says that it can travel and it can travel, you know what I mean? Sort of like via the internet, you know, sort of like you see it and it could come to you.
Right.
I don't know if you believe that or not, but
Oh yeah,
sort of like,
I believe they could use electronics. Yes. Yes, I do
well,
believe.
it's all waves, isn't it? When all said and done, you know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I don't want somebody's attachment to come over and visit me from the UK.
Do you
You
think
know
I
what
want
I'm
it?
saying?
Do you think I? I don't think I want it either.
So no, I don't want that. You know, I heard the voice. I played it over and over on the air. You know, so yes, that was
I heard it straight away.
interesting.
I told you because you said like it said something, and I said straight away. It said hello.
And
Well,
like,
no,
hello.
yeah, you were undeniable.
And I played it over and over during that show, remember? So
I
everybody
watched.
could hear it. And
Of
nobody
course.
else's mouth was moving but his. And it was a girl. And that's what he saw on the floor looking up at him on all fours, just like the movie The Ring. And when somebody tells me that, oh hell no.
Do you want to know something? Right? Yeah. I will not watch two films. Right?
Why?
I
I
will not
love
watch.
horror movies, but I don't want to live one.
Right. One is a ring. Right? Yeah. And the other one is oh, what do you call it now? Where she goes to be a an help in this Japanese house.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, where she crawls backwards and upside down.
Yeah, what the heck do they call it? Not the
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's the Japanese version of it.
the not the ring.
I know what you're talking about.
I will never watch them two films. The bad ones.
Really?
Yeah, bad
I
ones.
love horror movies.
Yeah, I do. But the problem is, every time I've watched something really bad has happened. Somebody's died.
Oh, well, thanks for telling me that.
So I keep away from that. There's a record that I listen to. If I hear that record, if I hear and I think that's it, turn it straight off. Don't want to hear it. The original one's by Bread, and the problem is it was one of my favorite records.
Roger says Freddy versus Jason was the movie he liked. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like I say, I think it's tomorrow night. My sisters take me the Abominable Snowman. I only saw the start and I was only young, and then I was told to get to bed, and I've never seen from start to finish. Same as the Monster at the Blue Lagoon. That is one of my favourites. I haven't seen that all the way through, but I remember and I'm thinking I'm gonna, and I've seen it advertised. So,
Grudge.
Oh,
Grudge.
I didn't want
Mark.
to see that.
Welcome to the show.
I didn't want to see that name, but yeah. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I'm always down for good horror shows. I just don't want to live them. That's my problem.
Well, the problem is I've been living one for, since I was 16. You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, I couldn't handle that.
No, it's bad news. Now then, Mark, you're right, mate. This guy does some amazing graphics, right? Yeah. Unbelievable. And he did Mark did his page, for the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'll tell you now, brilliant. He doesn't say anything. I know people say, "Oh, I'm good at this." He just sent me and said, "Here, you can have this." Sort of like promotion. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
awesome.
amazing.
Amazing. I like to say thank you, Mark Binnis. You know what I mean? It is fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, it's 10:18 your time. It's only 5:18 my time.
Well, the thing is, I'm watching your show, and my sisters, you woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, coming to bed. You know what I mean?
Oh, that night I told you to come on. I was like, he's in his undies. I'm like, Russ, get on the show. Hurry.
I just got out of bed. It's all right. I was going to say.
Everybody was like, was he really in his undies? I'm like, yeah. I was like, man, he's in UK. He's like 5 hours ahead of us.
Oh, what's that?
People in the audience.
I'm a commando.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. Oh, Lord. I'm going to have nightmares now, Mark and Lala and Roger and Denise and everybody and B-Man, Roger. Oh, Gary.
I would definitely not be jumping out of bed with any system in my hand if I were. No. Oh, too what? It's too what?
That was funny though, because he was watching the show and I was like, "Hey, that's him right there." I'm like, "Russ, get on the show. Let me send you the link." And he did. He got right on the show. That was funny though.
Oh dear! And I thought, well, what? When you were talking, you said and I thought to myself, "Oh, he's."
Yes, Roger. Yeah, that was that night. Oh my gosh.
Well, no,
Yes.
well, in the morning. That was
Yes.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Your time it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister's saying, do you do anything normal at normal times? You know what I mean? Sort of like, and then I was going out looking to see the thing, looking around me, you know, that thing looking in,
Yes.
you know, like the thing outside looking in at my camera, and I'm looking at it and it's looking at me, and I'm thinking, my sister says, you know, that camera and you're seeing these things, is it near my bedroom? No. And it's right out, it's on the wall, on the where the wall is in her bedroom at the other side of the house. And I'm saying, you know, like, no,
Oh, that's
better not
funny.
be lying. No, it's not near your bedroom. I don't want them coming in, she says.
That's funny. That's funny.
It's not funny
Yeah,
when you get
yeah,
hit with a
Roger.
moth.
Yeah, now he remembers, he says. Remember,
This,
he was half asleep. He was downstairs. He had to run all the way up to his office to get online.
yeah, no, I told you I had problems then, you know.
Yeah.
But there was something looking through the I'm looking at me screen, looking to see if it's filming outside, and this thing's looking in. And the thing is, I was telling my friend, who's doing the same thing, is getting some good images, and it's called Les Durant, right? Yeah, Duran, sorry, and so I'm looking like I'm looking now, and there's stuff going on outside, moving around, right? Yeah, and sort of
Right.
like, so that's why I'm up messing about, looking at the video and what have you. And I was watching that and watching your show, you know, and this thing came, but I'll send you the other one across as well,
All right, that'd
the
be
other
awesome.
video. But yeah, so this is it. You know, there's so you can see, it's like I'll try to explain, you can see birds flying around. It's the thing zapping fast and stopping and reversing. And then you see these things called rods, and the rods turn up. You know what rods
Right.
are.
Right.
And then the thing turns up and it flashes a light down, and the light is looking around the camera. So it hasn't just flashed it down and it's gone. So it's come down, it's round the camera, and then you see it do that, and it moves. It moves across to the other side, and then it shoots it down at the other side, and it moves across. So there's all sorts going on.
Between you and Lala, y'all got the world beat. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
All right,
Both
all right.
sides of the hemisphere or the world, you all are just like neck and neck. I mean, she's got UFO, aliens, fairies, orbs, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I know. She's been on my show.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. She's the one that told me that you had alien aircraft and you didn't tell me. I was
Well, you
mad.
knew.
No, you didn't tell me. She told me, and I was like, what?
If I said, if I put something up, someone gives it's boring, us. You've told us that 1,000 times. I put some up, and
Oh,
this is me,
Bob, really?
and
Now I'm really gonna have to see my psychiatrist.
yeah, and I put something
No,
else up.
look
Oh,
what Bob just put. Put your specs on. You're both gonna give me nightmares. I'm gonna take some medicine tonight to make me sleep. Oh my Lord, look what
I
y'all
wish,
started.
I wish I hadn't said now.
Oh, I done barely got over the you dancing around the fire commando. I done got over
in the
that.
fire. I
Yeah.
wasn't dancing. I tripped up. Well, no, I was pushed and I landed in it.
Well, well, the same difference.
Do you want to know the best one?
No. I'm afraid to.
We was in the back room, only a little room with the fire, and we didn't have gas fires then. We just had, and my granddad came in, and he thought I'd finished and taken all the fireworks out, right, in the little box what they'd got us, and he threw this brown paper bag in the fire, right, yeah, and I went outside with my friends having, these pork pies and mushy peas, right, yeah, with his fireworks, and all of a sudden from my house, right, yeah, there was and I looked up and he goes, that's come from Russ's house.
Well, I bet you got in trouble.
I didn't do it. It was my granddad. He said, he thought, when I came in, right, yeah, the house was full of soot.
Well, I could imagine.
Because when it went bang, there were these, what do you call it, like air bombs, fireworks, boom, and you've never seen such a mess in your life, honestly. I did get blamed for it, though, but...
I bet you did. Barb, between Russ and Science Bob, they both took the wheel and put us in the ditch twice. So, yes. He's still laughing.
Oh, dear. Oh.
Yes. I know, right? Unbelievable.
What are you like for time, Chris? Have you got another show later on? Are you?
No, I just gonna go eat me some chicken.
Oh. Is it southern fried?
No, it's grilled.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can't have. I've got to have grilled. But anyway, yeah.
We're gonna need a big tow truck for this one. It's Barb. It's Lord Barb.
For which one?
For you and Bob.
Oh,
you put us in the ditch. Science Bob's laughing.
That's what happens when you look back. You know, like when you're sneaking a peek and you go, oh, no.
Oh.
Oh, I know the feeling. So what we've got is, no, I mean, the thing is, sort of like, I don't mind. It's like talking about cameras and fixed cameras outside and what have you. I've just seen another one, and it actually moves. It's a new one. It actually moves to the left and right as well. I spent enough though on cameras. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but what I've got one that I can plug into my other phone, and I can have it just static. Like outside anywhere. I don't have to fix it. Apart from just coming into the house, you know what I mean, through a small hole. So I'm looking to put another camera. So that's like 2 cameras. But I don't honestly think you can beat getting out. I had a camera bought. It's great. So I'm taking that out with me. And my Sony, my other camera. Only, like the smaller, like not the big handy cameras now, they're the small ones.
Right.
And sort of like just going to where all this is being filmed in front of these big houses in front of where I live.
Right.
Because it's, seaside resort and you have row of houses sometimes. So we're just behind So then we've got the place where the thing came out of the sea, you know, the two triangles, the dolphin on the left hand side, over the piece of land that goes out, peninsula, right? So that's over at Filey Brig, and then there's a lighthouse where there's other things happened, and the pilot came down and landed. So this area where there's supposedly an underground undersea base is where the two things came across. The two, you know, the two lights that had no joining in the middle and no fuselage, no wings.
Right.
And it's where I filmed the two triangles coming out of the sea. So the thing is, you know, like just going around there, there's some seats. And sort of like the problem is now this time it's pouring it down. So you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I have got one of these mats to sit down on, you know, and the other thing is last time I were out filming, I took ill. And I had some beauty shots of things for just a couple of minutes, you know, whoops. So that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to start going out, you know. But unfortunately now it's getting back end of the season, you know.
Right.
But at least I've got the backup, which is the camera, the security camera, the outdoor camera, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Which is at least it's picking things up, you know. But like I say, I like to be out there with me camera, you know. And once I get myself sorted out this week, what with hospital appointments and stuff, you know, I'm hoping to be all right with a bit of
Well, I
luck.
hope so. I hope everything gets better.
Well, thank you there, you know. But so what have you got? Have you got anything installed? What's
Now, just the shows on Sundays, 6 and 9. So then
I'll
our
be
show
there.
on Mondays.
Yeah. I like I say, and I always watch it if I'm not able to. I always watch it after, but I usually like watching just in case something happens. You know.
Right. Yeah, you never know anymore. That's
No,
the truth.
this is it. This is the whole thing. I mean, when it happens, it happens. You know, sort of like, and if you've got it, you've got it. You know,
Right.
and very lucky there. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I'm going to say now, yeah. So again, you know, we've got we've had more coming out past couple of days. You know, like from America talking about again Roswell, and somebody now. I think there's this statement. What somebody, you know, like another statement from somebody, you know, talking about, you know, what happened. And no doubt something happened there. There's no doubt, you know, whatsoever. But I wonder, it's like, for instance, this information about what happened on the last, I think it was the last day of the war, right? 1945, last day of the war, when I think Hitler had, you know, basically surrendered and what have you. And something landed in the UK, right? And it was supposed to be extraterrestrial.
That's what they claim.
Now, have you heard about this?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yes.
Now, I've just looking, I've got a file on it. Now, it wasn't the one right? Yeah, it wasn't the one when. Are you thinking of the one where there was it Mountbatten there?
Are you talking the one that Hitler had that they finally found evidence that flew for 6-7 seconds over the building? I'm not talking about that one.
No, no.
Yeah.
This is the one where it actually landed in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, that's the rumor I heard.
Right. Well, what I've got, and you see, I don't know if I can use it yet. If they're not bothered about using it, it is something that is unbelievable. And I don't know, it just depends because the nature. Having said that, I mean, if you have a look, there's people putting all sorts of these images up of Nazi flying saucers and what have you up, and this wasn't a Nazi flying saucer.
Now, there's only one Nazi flying saucer that allegedly he had, and the footage is no longer available. I don't know where it went to. It was available on the internet, and it got scrubbed. And it was on a show years ago, probably 8 to 13 years ago. Science Bob can probably help me out because everybody in the SS said he had it. And everybody in the world thought Hitler was crazy, and so were the Nazis. And basically, to make a long story short, they found the footage, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s, in the mid 90s, I think, of the flying saucer and it had the SS, or not the SS, the swastika on it. Yeah. That flew over the building. It was like 3 to 7 seconds.
Can you see some? Bob. Can you see some rooftops? And it just
it actually flew over some buildings. It was an actual flying saucer.
I remember it.
It's but you cannot find the footage anywhere. It's been scrubbed. It has been G-Man, UN, whoever. The footage is gone. If Science Bob is still listening, hopefully he can contest to this or say yes or no that he remembers seeing this, or maybe he can locate the footage because he's a scientist. Yeah. But it rocked the world because they were like, he did have technology, because that questioned a lot of his abilities, where he got all his technology from.
Well, I remember it. I remember it as clear as day. Now, the thing is, it's like, where did all this, right? You know, if you look at reality, Hitler had always wanted to pay back France, right, yeah, for invading Germany, because it was ruled by France. Something that you probably, did you know that in France, just like the Roswell incident, yeah, right, yeah, well, did you know that in France that they used to drive on the left-hand side of the road, like in England?
No, I did not.
Until 1915. 1915. The French used to drive on the same side of the road as the English. You know, strange. But if we're looking now, round about 1936, that there seem to be a lot of strange things happening, because you can say this is the start not only of the uprising of National Socialism in Germany, but you can see clearly that this was like the start of flying saucers landing in Europe, right? Because there'd been a number of flying saucers landed in 1936 in Germany. I think there was one that landed, if I'm not mistaken, around France, and then there were another one in Russia in 1936. And I find this bizarre that there are a number of crashes in 36 in these countries. And it was just at that time. Now, the thing is, there was always talk with von Braun that he said that he had help from up there, right? He'd always claimed that he'd had help, outside help from. Now, he didn't say aliens. What did he say?
No, he said he had outside help, but I can't remember the exact verbiage he used. And I'm not referring to the bell. If anybody's thinking about the bell, that was something different. I'm talking about the actual UFO SS, or had the swastika on the side of the UFO. So,
what did it?
Because
the one he's
America,
talking about is somewhat Glock. No, it wasn't that one.
Right? No,
that one more like the teleportation unit rather than a flying saucer.
Right.
Or time displacement. That's more like the time displacement unit. The one what you're talking about is like a flying saucer, and it looks.
Yes, and it had the swastikas on the side of it.
That's right. Now, so the thing is, I mean, what was going on in 1936 then? Why?
Don't forget they invented the first rockets, the first jet planes. Remember?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So where do they get all that technology from?
Well, this is it. I mean, what I think someone once said, it went on a documentary, and they said that the only thing stopping them from taking over the world was because of the way that some of these new machines were put together, and they only had, if they had petroleum glue or some of the new glue what we've got now today, they'd have been able to keep these things together, but they used fish glues. Now the thing is, I'm thinking to myself, well, surely if these things travel at a certain speed, sort of like it's like aluminium melts before steel and what have you for aircraft,
right?
You know what I mean? So I mean, what the difference I was thinking between sort of a fish glue and petroleum glue, these things flying, they're gonna move. Anything moving gets hot. So it won't, to me, it didn't make any sense, because the fish glue would eventually come to pieces because of the heat, as well as the petroleum glue. Or does petroleum glue stand at higher temperatures? I don't know.
See, that I don't know.
So. I shouldn't imagine so. But have you ever heard of liquid metal?
Yes, I've actually seen that.
I've
actually seen metal that actually heals itself too from fractures, stress fractures. So that's how far technology's come. Now, the Glock is the bell.
That's right, yeah.
But we never have. We have diagrams of it, but we never found the bell. Remember, because it's all went into a black hole.
Well, yeah, a lot of things did.
Yes, a lot of things disappeared.
Yeah, and the thing is, sort of like And I don't think it was the Germans. There were other people around at the time. The war had been won, and it were spoils of war. And if it wasn't, it should have been.
Right.
But going back to the what do you call it, liquid metal, right? I remember one of the first cases I went on, and I'd come over here from Bradford, 80 miles, and we're looking at this area where somebody had found a flying saucer, right? It was only 2 foot in length, and this person had found it. Then there were 2 people with a dog. Anyway, the thing is, there's more to it, and then an whole group went looking for this, to retrieve this flying saucer, and it had been analysed, and I think this were back in 50s, and it was supposed to be liquid metal, right? Now, what I'll do, I will get the file for Monday, and I'll go through this, and it's amazing. It really is amazing, and it was in a magazine, one of the oldest magazines. I think it's still running today, on flying saucers, and it's a real mystery, the story about this. So that is something, sort of like, I will definitely write it down. And
Okay, that sounds good.
It is amazing. It is amazing. And it's like something else amazing that I found in atom bomb testing and stuff. Sort of like never supposed to have happened. So I've got so much here at the moment, sort of like I'm stumbling over stuff. And the original write-up about the story of the landed craft in England in 1945, and it was the last sort of like day of the war. Sort of like so, and that is amazing. So what I'll do, like I say, I'll do one at once, because there's enough to go through one, and now I've got this room, I'm just gonna move things out and what have you, and should be easier for me to just pull the files out. I pulled them out the other day, sort of like, and but I'll definitely do that for Monday.
So yeah, that sounds good.
The thing is, again, when we're talking about all this, what comes up is, something that is like everybody talks about, and that is under the ice, and down at, where do you call it, Antarctica. So
yes,
why was it, again, it's like, if something would have attacked my ship and my planes, sort of like, that'd have been almost certain war. That's like a declaration of war, isn't it? If some crafts, sort of like come out of an area and sort of like start attacking you, and sort of like, that's a declaration of war straight away.
right.
So why did Admiral Byrd go back to America?
Don't know.
Could it be? I mean, personally, we've just gone. You know, the world, the countries had gone through hell. You know, sort of like from 39 to 45. Right, yeah. The casualties, you know, sort of like deaths and misery and pain. You know, sort of like, and I don't suppose anybody else, you know, would want to go through that again. If you had, you know, like a decent, you know, bone in your body, you'd think twice, wouldn't you? You'd think we've already gone through this. But
Right.
if you'd already sent, you know, sort of like these ships out and aircraft carriers, you know, sort of like you know, what were they thinking? And then
Yeah.
to be attacked, you know what I mean? To be attacked and to go back. Was it a case of, you know what, leave them, let sleeping dogs lie?
Who knows? We'll find out, won't we?
Oh, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that I'm long gone before we find out anything, because it's like, you know, someone said, "Oh, well, you know, when they arrive, you know, so it's going to change the world." Well, of course it is. You know, of course it's going to change the world, but in what respect? You know, is it going to be for the good? Again, we're back to the same question that when we started. You know, is it going to be a good thing for mankind, or is it going to be maybe not so good? You know, and if they're like humans, humans do things for humans.
Right.
You know, sort of like you know, Viking, you know, sort of rape and pillage. You know,
It's
like
going to be interesting.
well, I think it definitely is. You know, but you know, we you see there again. You know, it's like another year, and you're thinking, what can happen in this year? It's not the end yet, and sort of like you're thinking, I've got a funny feeling our old friend's going to turn up again. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, the one that was around for 3 years and it was so bad, you know. We won't talk about it, but you know, sort of like what some people, it was bad, but some people seem to be sort of like able to do things or telling us not to do, and they were all right. You know what I mean? They were
Yes, I
okay.
do.
And you're thinking yourself, is that going to raise its head again? You know, or is something else going to sort of like just come out of the woodwork or and sort of like cause mayhem? You know, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm always, you know, sort of like once bitten, twice shy. You know, you're always, you know, sort of like it's like I look now, right? Yeah, and as I'm looking around, I don't see things the same anymore. You know what I mean? From like 3 years ago, you know, sort of like things have dramatically changed. I can see the change in people. I can see the change in numbers, the people that are out and what have you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, the other thing is, I don't know. There's a lot of people, and I've noticed them going on like watches and ghost hunts and what have you, and you know, sort of like it's probably because I live in the back of beyond. For me to go anywhere of any interest where there's civilization, it costs me quite a lot of money. You know what I mean? To get from where I live to, civilization around, sort of, even if it's only 80 mile away and 60 mile away, but it's a traveling and it's a cost for people to do this. And sort
Right.
of like, sometimes I think to myself, sometimes people can't afford to do that,
That's true.
with the petrol going up and everything, and everything else goes up, and it has to go up because of the petrol and the oil. You know what I mean? But anyway, just looking at things, and I'm thinking to myself, sometimes it just makes me wonder. But I know I'm gonna let you get off.
All right. And we'll get stuff ready for Monday's show, ladies and gentlemen.
And don't forget the chicken.
That's right. It's already done. It's ready for me to eat.
Well, again, I hope you've enjoyed the show, everybody, and Chris, I hope you have as well. I think it's
absolutely. Thank you, sir, gentleman and a scholar.
So, try my best. Yeah. So, anything that's happening that you want to tell us about, like on your next show and what have you, and on Sunday, what you're doing, anything?
Just the Bigfoot show, and then we got UFO and demons at 9:00 Eastern time. I was going to say that for last for you. Yes, the dynamic relationship between aliens and UFOs. So you may want to tune in for that one.
Well, I definitely will be. There's no doubt about it. Definitely will be. So I'll just wait for the next couple of minutes and what have you. And like I say, I'll have that. I'll have those documents and stuff ready.
All right, great.
And talking, I'll have a chat with the guy who used to run the magazine. Well, he still runs the magazine. That I first saw this flying saucer advertised in this magazine about it being found and what have you, and they did an analysis on it, and it had come back. I remember it had come back as this liquid metal, sort of like not liquid. What do you call it? Well, more or less, and it had been, sort of like sealed, and it. I'll tell you more about it anyway on Monday night and what have you.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
It like I say, when I looked at it and read it and what have you, I thought, well, how was that possible? And I mean, this is back in 50s. This is back in 50s, and sort of like when I was talking about it, I did a talk. I think I was on BBC talking about it, and the thing is, it was like flipped over that part of, about the actual craft of what it was actually made out of, and this it was just on the size being so small, it didn't seem to matter, but like it some kind of drone type, if you know what I mean, rather than the ones that carry, sort of like sports type, couple 3 people in, not a mothership, etc. So what was it? Where did it come from? So, that should be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think so.
So thank you. It's been a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Russ.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And so we'll see you then. And thanks everybody who's contributed and messaged and what have you. And I will chat to you later on. and listen to you on your next show. And I will say good night. God bless to everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. God bless. Take care. Bye for now.